Hello, welcome to my dissertation of my work process from my project, the Chillicothe Lake Wetland in Tuluá, a space for a new learning environment for environmental education. Research work presented to qualify for the title of Magister in Education, Master student Andrés Fernando Jimenez Ramirez, and the tutor, the Magister Didier Andrés Ospino Osorio. The research question was, what are the characteristics that identify the learning environment of environmental education mediated by the surroundings of the Lake Chillicothe? The general objective was to characterize the new learning environment mediated by the natural environment of the Lake Chillicothe. The specific objectives was the recognized civic conservation practice that defined the learning environment, recognize the qualitative impact of the implementation of the new learning environment in the context of non-formal education, and formulate an environmental educational proposal which allows to strengthen the educational process in the natural context of the Lake Chillicothe. The reference and categories was the learning environment, environmental education and wetlands, and the dimensions of the beam. In these categories, we found relationships between them. Learning environment, the use of the nature and open space for self-improvement and reflection. This can use in the wetlands and property in the Lake Chillicothe. The environmental education and the sociocultural intervention with an emphasis on community self-development. The environmental education and the wetlands use the experiential education as the main of methodology, and the dimension of the being experiential education as a fundamental element of environmental education. This can be used in the non-formal education in the wetlands. The results and the discussions, the wetland as a new learning environment are a commitment to understand and thematize the relationship of the diversity between or into the wetlands and reflect to the non-formal education, a setting for the union between the educational, the cultural, and the ecosystemic to create scenarios for reflection. What should be taught from an interdisciplinary perspective that allows the design of environmental practices? Well, we can be a construction of knowledge from the natural dynamics present in the wetland and the collaborative and participatory work with conceptual structure typical of the wetland and the relationship between the non-formal education and the environmental education. The conclusion of this process, of this project, was the characteristic of the wetland into the non-formal education as a new scenario from the educational environmental emerging, the characteristic from the perspective of non-formal education in the context of non-formal education in the wetland as a new learning environment, also the characteristic mediated by the natural environment of the wetland and the characteristic when carry out civic and civic practice that integrate emerging environmental education. And this also give us a new perspective with a closing opening. How to generate educational content to achieve an understanding of this new research scenario through its inhabitants and how to achieve the necessary hermeneutics to extract all the educational, reflective, and complex thinking potential that can inhabit in the wetland? Well, these are the two questions I will, I hope so, will give it an answer or give a, a path, a path to walk to develop this theme and this new scenario of environmental education. These are their bibliographic references uh, for the construction of this work. Thank you very much. My name is Andres Fernando Jimenez Ramirez, and have a great day.